How I plan the coming homeschool year now is so much different than when I first started homeschooling, and I want to tell you how that's changed. When I first decided to homeschool, it was in June. It was at the end of the public school year that I finally made the decision that I wanted to make this jump. And so I had kind of one summer to make all of the decisions on how I was going to do homeschool the next year. And I did a ton of studying, and actually go check out my video on why I choose to homeschool using TJ Ed if you want to see the philosophy that I ended up going with. But basically, I studied a ton and I made really detailed plans. Like the coming school year, I knew what I was going to do on Monday at 10 o'clock, and I was very organized, and I knew, 3 times a week we were going to be studying from this science book, and then we were going to be doing these classes with the co-op, and I was just very organized almost to the minute. I knew at least the outline of what I was going to accomplish. So for my first 2 years of homeschooling, we basically did it the same way. We used the same co-op, we used pretty much the same curriculum, and we just adjusted to homeschooling instead of using public school. And then my third year, everything really changed, and we decided to go to a different co-op, and I spent all summer studying our options and looking at the different curriculums that we could be using. My kids were getting to be different ages, wanting to look into different subjects, and so I had a lot more studying that I did on that third year, trying to figure out, well, now what? How are we going to approach this? And I didn't choose our format really until the beginning of August, at which point I did choose our co-op, and I knew which class I would be teaching, and then I spent the rest of August planning all of the lessons and books we were going to use and everything for that co-op throughout that year. In another 2 years, things really shifted again, and at that point I spent the whole summer planning projects. I just built projects for the entire year. It took me my summer, and then at the end of that time I had all these projects, and we used them for basically our curriculum. That's how we did school that year. And then a couple of years after that, I thought we were moving, and it was very stressful, and then at the last minute we didn't end up moving, and so I had no plans for the coming year. And it was literally after school had started that I started thinking, what are we going to do? We're going to be here in this house, and how are we going to approach this? And I joined a co-op that seemed like it was absolutely perfect, and I was so grateful to get into it. And it was only after attending that I thought, this is not right for us. It was really wonderful for my older kids, but it was such a nightmare for my little kids that it was not worth it. And so we ended up backing out of that co-op and just doing things in a different group that year. But it was really at the last minute that we made that decision. It was very stressful for me to have that change take place right when we were supposed to already be in school. And in previous years I'd had everything planned out, and it was also organized, and here I was already beginning, and I just didn't know what I was doing. So that was really stressful. And then a year or two after that, we did move, and we got here at the end of August. I didn't have any school plans because I had spent the whole summer figuring out how we were going to move, where we were going to move, lots and lots of details went into that. And so by the time we got here, my brain was tired, and we just were not able to have a lot of plans for school. So I kind of just looked at our shelves and said, what do we have? Let's build a curriculum around what we have here. And we didn't have any outside groups we were working with. So that was a totally different approach as well. And then after that, my next year, I kind of just thought, it's fine, we'll get things as we go. And I sort of planned it on the fly. As the year went by, I said, well, that math doesn't really work. Let's try another math as we go. And it was much more laid back than I'd ever been before. And my point is not that one way is better than the other. I think that they're all incredibly valid. My point is that just like the kids are learning, addition and then multiplication, we are also learning how to do homeschool. And so as we go, we're just not going to be the same as we were when we began. And that was really hard for me, that I thought, I really love how it went that first year. It was so perfect. It was so organized. That's just how it's going to be forever. And it's not. And I was forced to really change when things didn't work out for me until the last possible second. I started saying, I don't know how to do this, but then I figured out how to do that, how to plan at the last minute, and then I figured out how to do things on my own without outside help. And just the process of growing and having a homeschool and living has made it so that I really approach things differently. over time. And so if you are homeschooling maybe your second or third year and it's not looking like it was when you first started and you really liked the way that it worked when you first started, that's normal. You're doing it exactly like you're supposed to be doing it. You are in the process of learning how to school. As your kids change, you're changing. And so even though maybe it's not as comfortable, it's probably exactly where you need to be. When you adapt and change and learn, you actually get more confident, and I am better able to do things now than I was when I first started. Even though I'm in a less comfortable place as far as planning goes, I can do it because I've had all these years of really successfully homeschooling. So now I feel like I can do it with a lot less structure. So if you're finding yourself planning for next year and it's not quite coming together, don't worry about it. It's okay. Even if it doesn't come together until the last second, you are learning and you are getting better at the homeschooling journey. What you do as a mom and as a homeschooling parent is so important, and no matter how it looks in the planning stages, it has huge impact on your family and on lots of people around you, and you're doing a much better job than you think you are. Thank you. I will see you on the next one.